by many different names, but she was amazing and special to so many of us. My name is Rob Roberts. I'm very happy and honored to be. We might have a little, and technical things happen. I'm going to just swap out for this one if that's all right. That's how you know she's taking a minute to laugh at us and enjoy a good time with us wherever she is, because she just wanted to remind me this is her stage and I'm just borrowing it. And that is A-okay by me. So where was I? My name is Rob Roberts, and I am honored on behalf of everyone, the community and the family, to be bookending these services today. Today's services, of course, will be in two parts, as I think everybody knows. We're going to be doing a more traditional sort of memorial and inviting some of you to speak and share some memories about Bethany here for our first part. Then we'll take a little bit of a break so we can eat together some hors d'oeuvres and get to know each other, shake hands, share some stories fondly of Bethany, and then we'll reconvene here in the theater at about 7:30 for a very special presentation from TFO, who has prepared a very special sketch for us. And then we're going to screen Bethany's favorite movie of all time, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. What a wonderful choice. This shouldn't come as a surprise, but that would be an 18 and over portion of the show when we're talking about chainsaw massacres, and if you know what TFO stands for. So just throwing that out there. Anyway, I really had the honor to work with Bethany over the years here at Love Horror events. As I mentioned, joked about a moment ago, we shared this stage together, and Bethany was a staple of so many communities, not just the horror community, Love Horror events that I work with, but certainly TFO, a lot of these alternative art types of communities, if you will, of course, local theater performances and so forth. She was just really beloved by all of these different communities, and I'm so glad we could all come together to really pay special tribute today, together with the family. And if you do want to show the family a little extra love today, the family is actually wearing pins that are marked with a bloody bee sort of symbol on them, Bethy's symbol there, so if you want to give a little extra love to the family, that's how you can identify who they are. But at the family's request, actually, we wanted to take a moment to capture all of these folks coming together for Bethany by taking a photograph. So I'd like to invite Loren, our photographer, to the stage to get a photo. And if you don't mind, I'll hop in this one too. You know what I could have done, Loren, is very similar to what we do at the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I could have said, squeeze together, make some new friends. Today's the day to make some new friends. And we all have that in common, is that there's so many people in this room that had such a love for Bethany and really just appreciated what she brought to our lives and to the arts here in town. And I will certainly never forget the first time I met her and got to work with her. She was a professional. She knew what she was doing on the stage, and she was also gracious and humble in being able to share the stage with, somebody who usually is pretty crazy and zany and silly like me, and doing some of the more cult films. But I remember the first time I met her, I said, I know Bethany and I are going to get along, because she looks just like Little Nell from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Columbia, if you will, with that red bob and everything. And I knew this was one rad chick, and I was happy to know her and work with her and have her in my life, as I'm sure so many of you were as well. I want to take a moment before we get into the speakers to thank everyone who took some time today to plan and set up this event. I think this is amazing, all of these wonderful things we have up here, and there's more things in the lobby I'll talk about later, but can we just take a moment of applause to just thank everybody who... I also want to take a moment to admire this original artwork here, which you're going to see on everybody's program there, and lovingly with on the throne where a queen ought to sit. I want to thank Christy Savage for making that painting. Are you out there? Yeah, thank you. Yeah. While you're looking at the program, I do want to mention there's a QR code on the back of the program for a GoFundMe that we are still trying to raise money to cover the expenses for everything we're doing here today, and the continued associated costs of this difficult transition. So if you have a moment to or the ability to donate to the GoFundMe, it would be deeply appreciated by the family and everyone. So check that out in the program. At this time, I want to bring up some guest speakers to share some stories about Bethany and just talk to us a little bit about the impact that she had on all of us. So to start us off this afternoon, I'd like to welcome to the stage, speaking on behalf of the family, Michael Hidden, Bethany's uncle. And you'll want to use this microphone because the other one's very naughty. Oh, well, can we, all right, you know what? We improvise. My apologies to TFO who had these perfectly calibrated.
That's right. I'm an expert. Okay. All right, how's that? Can everybody hear me? Okay, great. Huh? A little closer. How's that? Okay, we'll do that. All right, well, as Robert said, I've been asked to speak on behalf of the family today. So I think it's because I might be the most emotionally detached person, so I might be able to make it through the whole thing. So I've been asked first to read a poem by Sharon Marsh. Right in the middle of our life, on an ordinary day, the unthinkable happened. Everything went from ordinary to chaotic, and there I stood, in the mess of it all, knowing there will now forever be a before and an after. Well, Bethany Margaret Hidden was born at 9:41 a.m., July 31st, 1984, here in Sacramento. She was born 1 minute after her twin, Brianne, and was often quite vexed to be reminded that she was not the older sibling. She loved the joke that she kicked Brianne out, though later that joke lost its power when it was remembered that it was a cesarean birth. Later in life, she would reclaim her birth time and even revel in that she would be forever younger than Brianne. And boy, is that true now. She grew up in a loving home raised by her mother, Lisa, and her grandmother, Pat, who was better known as Nana. For a while, she also got to live with her great-grandma, Margaret, from whom she got her middle name. Eventually, her brother, Tyler, came along. They had a complicated relationship growing up, but as Tyler grew older, Bethy appreciated his sense of humor. And as an adult, she often confided in him. Next door were her paternal grandparents, and she was able to grow a relationship with members on that side of the family. Relationships with her cousin Heather and her godparents Donna and Guy especially. She was so appreciative of the ability to have kept contact with these family members all these years. Growing up, Bethy Boo always had a flair for the creative and theatrical. She often performed little skits and stories with her sister to the delight of her family. It was not uncommon for them to perform songs for the family, especially during the Special Friends, Inc. Christmas gathering every year. She was not one to be shy or reserved, and her humor was clearly evident. Even back then, it would not surprise anyone who knew her to learn that she could be quite the ham. She was also quite creative artistically. She loved drawing and making things. Our favorite were the dolls she would make out of the Q-tips and tissue paper. She loved making things, and when the girls discovered paper dolls were a thing, Bethy was delighted. She had quite the imagination. Bethy attended A.M. Wynn Elementary and did a stint at James W. Marshall, all in Rancho Cordova. When Mom Lisa married, the family moved to North Sacramento, and she spent 1 year at Martin Luther King Junior High. This was not the highlight of her academic career. And so when Lisa found the Performing Arts Academy, for the next year the girls were pleased. At PFAA, Bethy took acting and art classes, though she found her stride in the technical theater classes. While she did perform a few times with Davis Musical Theater Company at this time, she mainly stuck to the techie life. Sadly, we would learn later that her shying away from acting was due to cruel remarks made to her by a trusted mentor. Later on, Bethy would attribute her acting success to spite for this individual. Yeah. Bless her heart. She really loved and appreciated PFAA, but high school was not her favorite time. She struggled a bit with classes and finding her passions. This changed when she discovered the Rocky Horror Picture Show. She knew that she belonged to the misfit toy community and really leaned into that community. She had a love of Little Nell Campbell, and it shaped her personal style moving forward. Years later, she would have a chance to meet her idols of the RHPS, and it was a highlight of her life. In the years around high school graduation, Bethy was continuing to find herself in her community. She began following music and finding her tastes, starting with Beatles, moving to the Monkees and the Ramones, and somewhere getting to the Damned and Alice Cooper, etc. She developed an eclectic taste in music and enjoyed subjecting Brianne to the strangest songs she could find, especially on car trips. She started volunteering with the Trash Film Orgy, a huge defining move for her, working at the studio, theater, and finding her place in the horror community, all while stalking Bruce Campbell. And I know she did that, at his book signings across West Coast. Epic. Once she was out of high school, it was like she came alive. She eventually moved out to her first studio apartment, and her personal style really evolved into the Bethy we know today. When she was younger, she wanted to dye her hair black like Elvira, but her mom told her it was against the law for a true redhead to dye their hair. So Bethy thought she could get around this fact by dyeing it different shades of red. Then in her bleach bang days, at least most of it was red. Most everyone knew her for her vibrant hair color. When she would go out in public, she was often recognized for this trait. Her sister would often joke that between her hair and her height, you'd never lose her. Even in the crowds of the Run to Feed the Hungry events, which was a yearly tradition for her and her sister and occasionally her brother Tyler, she often told the story of walking down the street with her friends and coming up the other side of the street was somehow they didn't want to talk, someone they didn't want to talk to. So one of her friends would throw their coat over her head so they wouldn't be seen. Okay. All right, lost my place here. Forgive me. Okay. Over these years, she cultivated her leopard print gray and multiple shades of black aesthetic and balked at printed tees. Obviously, she didn't keep that last opinion, as her large t-shirt collection has become a bit of a legend. Eventually, Bethany transitioned out of her work at the studio theater and became a coffee singer at Starbucks, where she continued to work for 15 plus years. Anyone who knew Bethy during these years remember her colorful, hilarious posts, recapping her interactions at this job. I love them myself. She also held some odd jobs here and there, including gyros, haunted house, and the spicy pickle sandwich shop. What a place, huh? It was in these years that Bethany moved away from the technical side of theater to performing on stage. This led to an almost 20-year theatrical career, including hundreds of performances. And chances are a large part of the folks here today know Bethany from doing shows with her. How did Bethany's theater resume grow to be so big? She was talented, a blast to work with, and she had a firm say yes policy. And aren't we lucky, as those who have performed with her and those who watched her can attest to. It was also during this time that she became more involved with the horror community. She began volunteering with different cons, namely Sinister Creature Con, and started hosting the Sacramento Horror Film Festival. Through these endeavors, she made precious friends and connections and was able to meet all of her coveted idols. Who gets to do that? Oh yeah, Bethany does. It's almost as if she wrote that line. And while it is a common advice to never meet your heroes, all of her heroes were amazing and kind people, and she walked away with a friendship with many of them, and how cool is that? The living she did in her 20s and 30s could be a several hours long speech. So I will just mention some of the highlights. Winning the TFO competition for Queen of Trash, now her eternal honor, her several Ellie nominations, Broadway World nomination, meeting her partner Earl, meeting and working with Joe Bob Briggs, and becoming an aunt to James and Lorelai. The past few years were tough for Bethany. She had more than her fair share of struggles. Despite this, she excelled in her theatrical endeavors. And in our opinion, in her tremendous role as Auntie Boo, everyone here knows about her babies. She had always said she never planned to have children, but looking forward to being the doting aunt, and that she was. When Tyler's son James, aka Bubba, arrived in 2023, she jumped right into that role and showered him with love and affection like she'd never known. And along with her bonus nephews, Skylar and Logan, fun was always to be had. And when her sister Brienne brought Lorelai, aka Lala, into the world in 2023, it was apparent they had a special connection from the start. She spent many shifts in the nursery with Lala, no doubt bestowing her with the tidbits of sass and culture we would expect. We look forward to watching her continued influence as Auntie Boo to her babies, and are especially saddened that it has been cut short. But rest assured, we will do our best to continue to honor her in all the important to her ways. And in saying that, we would like it to be known that we are forever grateful to all that donated to her fund to help cover her final expenses, and that we have decided that anything above these expenses will be divided and put into special college funds for her Bubba and Lala in her honor. Her passing, which appears to have been a sudden cardiac-related event, has been shocking and earth-shattering, will most definitely leave a void in all of her communities and relationships. I don't know that there is any one thing that could be said to rectify that, to make up for a future that was always meant to include her. So I turn to the cliche of what we can learn from Bethany. Live authentically. Love unapologetically and epically. If you want to do it, do it. Learn improv. And always wear your sunnies. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, very much for that. Appreciate it.
I would like to welcome up to the stage next for the producer of Love Horror Events, Tim Mounier, who, of course, Bethany hosted the Sacramento Horror Film Festival for 18 years, 17, 18? I lost count. It was a long time. This is a very long time. So please welcome to the stage, Tim.
I have nothing written, but there's just some reminders here that I feel will tell a story. For anyone who's been following the event page, or even my page, or the Sackler Film Fest page, I posted a photo of her. And I had no idea what to say here today. I thought about doing a biography. Okay, she's hosted the Film Fest since 2008, been a liaison since the inception of Sinister Creature Con since 2015. I don't know, most of you who know her already know that, so it's pretty mechanical, but I was going through the photos over the years and I saw this photo, and this photo is actually from this past January's film festival. And when Bethany would host the festival, she didn't review the films ahead of time. She wanted to review the films like everyone else experiencing it for the first time. So when she would go on the stage, she would have the same enthusiasm, same questions that everyone would at the same time. And that has been completely, unique. She has been hosting the film festival since 2008. She's been shepherded by some of our past amazing hosts, Mr. Lobo, the Queen of Trash, Jamie DeWolf, Sydney Sin, Ryan Jones, Cindy Chopper, and there might be a few other I'm missing, but Bethany was our rock. And our company now is called Love Horror Events, but it was in 2008 when Bethany arrived, along with a filmmaker named Blake Regal, that the term love horror was coined for the first time. And Bethany is ingrained in the DNA of everything that we do here. And this particular photo was this past January, and this particular filmmaker in the photo was being awarded the Best of Festival Award. And usually with these things, how they go, the film plays, the filmmaker gets a Q&A, Bethany surprises them with an award, the filmmaker gets jazzed, takes photos, usually meets me after the ceremony, or the awarding, so to speak, and then they go off, and sometimes we never hear from them again. But this particular filmmaker made it an absolute point to send us an email, and I'm just going to read it verbatim. Hi, Tim. I wanted to thank you again for the great time I had at your festival last weekend. It was such a great show and an absolute surprise to win Best of Fest. My team is so excited, and the championship belt is amazing, so clever. You and your staff were so welcoming and warm, and your audience was so much fun. You've obviously built a wonderful community of horror fans, and it was a pleasure to view the film with them. I must commend your host, moderator, Bloody Bethy, as she knew her stuff, and it was obvious that she had viewed the films with care. Many film festival Q&As are painful, awkward, and I really appreciated her enthusiasm and curated questions. As I've mentioned, being from Sacramento, I really wanted the film to play from the hometown audience. Having the opportunity to do so, and the added bonus of winning, meant the world to me. I will definitely be writing you a 5-star review on Film Freeway, and not just because we won, because your festival was so much fun. Bravo, signed Dave Lawrence. And I had shared, enthusiastically, I shared that review with Bethany, and Bethany and I had stayed in touch through our Sinister Creature Con groups and emails and such, but the last actual direct interaction we had on Facebook Messenger was the conversation I had with her sharing that email. And Bethany is known for less is more, and at least with us, and so her immediate reaction was, "Oh wow, that's so sweet." And then I said, "Rad." And then she said, "Yay, us." What really, seeing that now, what struck out to me, and I like to tell the team, these are our shows, not my shows. I really get cringy when they say Tim shows. But Bethany instinctively said, "Yay, us." Like, she could have said, "Yay, me." She could have said, which would have been fine. she would deserve those accolades, but she immediately said, "Yay, us." And we were so lucky to have her. The Love Horror family, like I said, she was Love Horror before Love Horror existed. She was Love Horror. She was here before we had Sinister Creature Con. She was here before we had Rocky Horror. She was here before it all, and she stayed with us ever since. And I didn't think I was going to tell this story, but I think I can. Bethany, clearly from Bethany's uncle, loved Joe Bob Briggs. Anyone who knows her, how much she adored that man. And she was always a professional. She wanted to work with her heroes, but never, fangirled out, was someone we absolutely could trust with these people. And she was able to work with Joe Bob twice at our convention to be his liaison. But Joe Bob did a show right here on the stage. I think it was called When Rednecks Saved Hollywood. And it was a one-man show with Joe Bob, and he plays a slideshow, and he narrates it through. It was phenomenal. Bethany clearly wanted to be involved in some aspect, even if it was just to show up, introduce him, and then that was it, and enjoy the show. I had anticipated that I was going to run the slideshow, and the day that it happened, I needed to have my attention elsewhere. Bethany shows up, ready to just expect to do the one thing, and Bethany has been part of the horror community since 2008, and this is the closest thing I've seen terror in her face is when I said, "Can you do the slideshow?" She's like, "The slideshow. The thing that this show's about." And then she just shook it off and said, "I got this." And I always appreciated her positivity. And not only did she work with Joe Bob in a very light fashion with the liaison stuff, but she was now an integral part of an important event that was sold out. And after the show, she had a laptop, so she had to be on time with everything Joe was doing, just like that. And after the show, Joe told her and myself that she did 10 times better than all the professional AV people that, had come before that show. So I'm very happy we were able to provide her with a lot of those experiences, but as it was stated before, her biggest pride and joy was being an aunt. And as a single dad myself, I know what that's like to have a love for somebody. So she not only had an enormous love for her family, but enormous love for horror. And I will just, I saw a quote today that really spoke to me. I'm gonna alter it a little bit. It's a quote by John Taylor, but it says, "While we are mourning the loss of our friend, others are rejoicing to meet her behind the veil." Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tim. Our next speaker we'll be inviting to the stage is Julie Anker. Julie Anker is the Associate Artistic Director for Main Street Theater Works, and Bethany acted with Julie and was a part of this company where Julie directed Bethany since 2016. So, thank you.
This won't do. I'm an actor. I don't do the tech stuff. I don't. Thank you. Okay. Hi. First, let me say that usually when I go to memorials or celebrations of life, I don't usually wear black. I'm a person who wears bright colors and flowers and things like that, but hey, this is for Bethany, so we be in black. First time I met Bethany was at a video party at Alan Ponce's house, and Earl was invited, and he brought his girlfriend. And now I had never met her before, and I don't think I'd even ever seen her before. I don't know how that was, but I never had. And so in walks this big, tall woman, which pretty much everybody is kind of like that, but she was this big tall woman with this flaming red hair and these dramatic eyebrows and these huge tracts of land, and they became sort of a landing pad for me as time went on. Whenever we saw each other, Bethany would open her arms and she'd say, "Come on, Julie, bring it in." And I did, and it would be a long, lingering hug, and it felt nice. But Bethany was kind of a dichotomy. I mean, when I first met her, she was a quiet person, kind of reserved. She kind of hung out in the background. But when you started talking to her, you're like, oh. She had this sly, sort of wicked sense of humor, and I really liked that. But I wasn't really aware of the Bloody Bethy side, which had I known that, I might have been kind of afraid of her. But, and I never had a chance to watch her perform live, but I saw lots of pictures and lots of video, and I have to say that I really admired her bravery and her commitment to the character, to be sure. But anybody who's ever worked with her in theater knows that that's just what she did with every character she played. In 2016, she came out to audition for a show I was directing for Main Street Theater Works called The Last Lifeboat, and it was about the Titanic's builder, J. Bruce Ismay. And she auditioned for the part of his wife, Florence. And she landed the role. And not because she really looked the part, because at the time she didn't, with the red hair and all, but I knew she could act the part. And she had an incredible transformation, not just physically, but also from an acting point of view. And if you come up here in the top left is a picture of her, and if you didn't know that was her, you probably wouldn't know that's her, because she really, just like I said, took it on. She was just this quiet, poised, strong woman on stage. She nailed it. And I only had to really give her one note often, which was, slow down, girlfriend. Oh my God, could she talk fast? She was talking so fast. So, yeah, but she was a person she was an actress who got lost in her role. She had so many different looks, and if you come up and look at this board, you're gonna see them. She did 5 other shows with MSTW, Double White Texas, which I had the pleasure of acting with her in. She had the role of Starla Pudney. And if you see a picture here, there's a look that I'm sure, Earl, you've seen before. Like, what? In fact, you were the recipient of that in the show. And in the show, she borrowed a wig from me that was a blonde wig. And I said to her, I said, hey, you know, when you're done with the red hair, girl, go blonde. It looks great on you. And she looked at me and she said, oh, Julie, I'm never going to be done with the red. And she wasn't. She was in The Crucible. She played dual roles. She played Ann Putnam and Sarah Good. Escanaba in The Moonlife, she was our Wolf Moon Dance in The Leading Ladies, where she received a Best Actress nomination as Meg. And of course in The Outsider, where she played Louise, which I had the privilege of directing her in. And this was a part that was written for her. If you didn't see it, man, she stole the show. She was hilarious. One of the things I admired most about Bethany, and there were many, was that she didn't really have an ego, right? I mean, she would take on a lead role like in The Outsider, Leading Ladies, and then she would happily take a much smaller role. In fact, she expressed interest in being in Escanaba as Wolf Moon Dance, and I told her, oh honey, you are way overqualified for this part, seriously. And because she only had 2 lines, one of which was, put on the lard and onions, honey, I'm here to gut your buck. And Kasagi, bear with 3 legs. You can imagine what that was about. And that was it though, but that was it. That's all she had. And a lesser actor might have turned down the role, but not Bethany. She told me, I want to do this because I want to play with my MSTW friends, and I want to be on stage with my sweetie. She knew that this was one of Earl's favorite roles, and that was enough for her. And she did 4 other roles with her sweetie on our stage. Before I wrap this up, I just want to say something about Earl. Earl just finished his 12th show with Main Street Theater Works, starting with our company in 2005. Hard to believe, eh? I can't, yeah. The third weekend of the run of The Underpants, as the Friday night show ended, Earl got a call that no one should ever get and no one expected. His dear Bethany had passed. We were all shocked and heartbroken, and we asked what we could do and what he needed from us. And of course, we canceled Saturday night show. I mean, yeah. But Earl, being the consummate professional, said, "I want to finish the run." That's what Bethany would have wanted. And with strength and courage, he did just that. And he was amazing, as always. We have been so blessed to have you on our stage, Earl, and you and Bethany together. Man, you guys were a perfect fit in every way. And we will miss her. And I know she's still going to be around, haunting the green room and in the audience with the best seat in the house. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julie. I'd like to welcome to the stage next Brian Judd. Brian Judd was Bethany's Lambdas player cohort for more than a decade, a drinking buddy for just as long, and a fellow appreciator of bad movies and good music.
I can project. Thank you, Brianne, for offering for me to come up here. I really appreciate it. I'm going to tell, excuse me. I'm going to tell 3 stories. One is my favorite Bethany story, and we took a trip down to Palm Springs to visit a mutual friend, James. Excuse me. And fuck you for all of you seeing me cry right now. We took a trip down to Palm Springs to visit our friend James. We got down there. We spent the evening with him. We went back to our room. We bid each other goodnight. In the morning, she got up before me. She took a shower, put on her face, and she went to go get some coffee. I woke up. I went to the bathroom, and I was greeted with what could only be described as a crime scene. She had murdered the Kool-Aid man, slaughtered him, and used every available towel to clean up the mess. Every towel was stained that very trademark color of red. Later that day, we took the tram up to Mount Jacinto. This was in February, so there's about a foot or 2 of snow up there. Neither one of us were dressed for it. But Bethany was wearing her standard uniform of Chuck Taylors, leggings, and a very light hoodie. We frolicked in the snow for about an hour. By the time we were done, her shoes were soaked through, her feet were frozen, and we got back to the car. She said she wanted a hearty dinner, meat and potatoes, stick to her ribs. So we ended up at a steakhouse, a very expensive steakhouse on North Palm Canyon, and she ordered a filet mignon, a 14-ounce filet mignon, rare. When the waiter brought out this steak, I'd never and have yet to see again a filet mignon so big. It was as tall as it was wide. And because it was so thick, it was more raw than it was rare. And it wobbled when she cut into it. But and I just thought of this joke. Bethany always said, more blood, more better. So she devoured this steak, this raw hunk of meat, like she hadn't eaten in a week. So later tonight, while we're watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, that weekend I came this close to experiencing it live. My second Bethany story is her favorite story. And this is about 15 years ago. We were at the Merc, which we spent where we spent many evenings, many days, many hours. And it was her, me, her, and our friend Steve, who is asked not to be identified. He's over there. And on this evening, there was also a gentleman there. Maybe some of you had seen him. He was a tall, older gentleman that had a rubber fetish. And he enjoyed dressing up as basically the killer from I Know What You Did Last Summer. So it was that black rubber fisherman's outfit. Well, also on this evening, the Merc lost power. And we were fortunate enough to have a table full of fresh cocktails. Bethany had her vodka soda, plenty of lime. I had a bourbon and soda, and Steve was drinking, I think, probably like a Tokyo tea or something. Something that was booze heavy and disgustingly sweet for sure. The lights went out, and since they didn't kick us out, we spent the next hour to hour and a half telling different versions of our horror movie where our fisherman friend would kill us. In some of the versions, Bethany lived, and in some of the versions, Bethany died. But in all the versions, as especially this crowd should know, Steve died first. Because the bimbo always dies first. My third story, it took me a while to settle upon it. And I was listening to some music that we had shared, an album we liked. And it takes me back to our trip to Palm Springs. And we were talking and listening to music as people who are trapped in a car for 8 hours do. And I learned much more about the monkeys than I ever intended to. I didn't give her any fault because I like the Partridge Family. We shared our enjoyment of the Hammond organ, which Nana apparently had introduced her to. We also liked 60s psychedelic music, though her tastes were more of the garage band, gritty side, and I liked the more harmonious, overproduced stuff. But we both agreed on Iron Butterfly and the Zombies. Now, the Zombies, we were lucky enough to see twice in concert together. So as we're driving along, a track plays, I can't remember which, and it doesn't really matter, but I said, this song is on my, this is a funny story. I shouldn't be choking up right now. I said, this song is on my funeral playlist. Well, Bethany launches into what she's going to say at my eulogy. How's that for a plot twist? And she said when she got done saying all the nice things and all the not so nice things, she would close with, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a moment of silence as old man Judd shares with us one last song. And then she said she would play the full 17-minute version of In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida. And I agreed. Well, she said she'd play it and she would watch the audience, the crowd, the mourners get more and more uncomfortable as the song went on. And I agreed, okay, you can do that. However, there's a condition. I said during the drum solo, she must break into an unannounced interpretive dance like Jessica Harper from Phantom of the Paradise. And if anyone has seen that movie, you know exactly the dance I'm talking about. Bethany, or Brianne, thank you very much for having me up here. Thank you for listening to me ramble. And Bethany, thank you for giving me, thank you.
speaker I'd like to invite to the stage is Alex Hoagie, Bethany's fellow Sacramento musical parody playhouse weirdo and her favorite little boy. I was trying to figure out if autocorrect did something there, but maybe not. Nope, it won't.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Brianne, for asking me to speak. And thank you to everybody who organized this event and everybody who donated to help make it happen. I don't know about you all, but the past couple weeks I have literally just been seeing red everywhere. Stop signs, ladybugs, these walls. She's here. Bethany and I first met in 2012 doing theater on the Delta King Riverboat in Old Sac. We were members of Sacramento Musical Parody Playhouse, and the first show that we did together was a musical parody of It's a Wonderful Life. She was Mary, George Bailey's wife, and in the first half of the show, she was just this incredibly warm and kind and loving and nurturing character. And then in the second half of the show, when the angel was taking George Bailey around and showing him what the world would be like without him, she turned into Crazy Mary. And she had like one stiletto and smeared lipstick, and she beat up George Bailey and the angel with her purse. And it was awesome. And she was so funny. We did 4 shows together on that riverboat, and my favorite one was Dracula versus the Wolfman. She played Betty, who was married to this vampire hunter, but she was obsessed with trying to get Dracula to bite her. And she had the show-stopping number, "Bite Me Baby One More Time." There's actually a video of it on the Bloody Bethy Forever fan page. Check it out. And that boat was so janky. Maybe you've been on it. During one of the shows, one of the porthole windows fell off, and it exposed us to the elements. And right before her song, it started to storm. But Bethy was so captivating to watch that everybody on the theater on that side in the audience stayed in their seats so they could watch her perform. They were like under their programs, watching her, rocking out. She was incredible. Bethany was 10 years older than me, which at this age is not that much of an age difference, but when we were 19 and 29, people didn't really know what to make of our friendship. And when we were out getting coffee once, she got mistaken for my girlfriend and my mom. And we just rolled with it. There's nothing quite like the bond between a boyfriend's son and his girlfriend mom. And so I thought it only fitting, in honor of our time together at Sacramento Musical Parody Playhouse, to write a parody song of that very special relationship. Hit it. Girlfriend mom has got it going on. My girlfriend mom has got it going on. My girlfriend mom has got it going on. My girlfriend mom has got it going on. Bethy, can I come over after rehearsal? We can watch scary movies like Jaws and Psycho. Did Earl get back from his business trip? If he's there, can we give him the slip? I'm the same little boy that I used to be. I won't grow up now, Bethy, can't you see? My girlfriend mom has got it going on. She's covered in blood and her legs are so long. Bethy, can't you see? show. I could tell people like them from the way they stared. I said back off before I throw this chair. And I know that you think that I'm kidding, but since that coffee date, I think this is the real thing. My girlfriend mom has got it going on. She wears all black and her thighs are so strong. Bethy, can't you see you are just a girl for me? I know it might be wrong, but I'm in love with my girlfriend mom. Girlfriend mom has got it going. She's got it going on. So long. Can't you see you are just a girl for me? I know it might be wrong, but I'm in love with girlfriend mom. I'm in love with girlfriend mom. Bloody Bethy. Bethy, can't you see you are just a girl for me? I know it might be wrong, but we're in love with my girlfriend mom.
I really don't know how I'm supposed to follow that. You know, there's the handbook for how to host a memorial service for a friend that you deeply admired and want to do a perfect show for it. That page was missing. Oh well. No, that was wonderful. And big applause once again for all of our speakers. It's really incredible. I actually, something not in your program, I actually have a special note from somebody who couldn't be here tonight, but wanted to send along a very special message. So I'd like to read for a moment here a message from the host of The Last Drive-In and some other horror film shows throughout the years, and renowned author Joe Bob Briggs. Bethany would volunteer to assist me whenever I was in Sacramento. And from the first time I met her, I could sense what a beautiful soul she had. We talked about movies and theater and conspired together to manage, in a loving way, some of the damaged people who came up to the autograph table needing assistance with their social anxiety. Bethany's work was flawless, perfect. I couldn't imagine having a more attentive or meticulous assistant. And even though she was trying to assume an air of professional reserve, her love came through at a subconscious level. I certainly didn't deserve that level of devotion, but what a gift she was to me, and I'm sure to dozens of others. Signed, Joe Bob. Before we wrap up and take a break, before we get to the second half again, we have a whole second half coming back at 7:30, so don't miss that. But I did want to share some other things going on, because you've heard select memories from our speakers today and many of us, and many of you have memories too, and we hope you'll take this time to mingle and share some memories and see what a small world it is and how we're all connected and how Bethy brought us all together. We'd also like to, on behalf of this family, share some of Bethy's memories in kind with you all. As you all know, Bethy ran a great merch table, and her treasured memorabilia has been assembled in the lobby, and we would like you to pick out a keepsake or two. The family has asked that the things that she loved go to the people that she loved. Bethy also was a pin collector, and there is a mystery pin box if you'd like to take a stab at it. I never realized how old I was getting until I had to get explained to the concept of a guest book phone. But we have a guest book phone out in the lobby, and I know a guest book, right? The quill and the pen and all that back in the day. But actually now, like everything, there's an app for that. So we actually have a guestbook phone, and we would love, on behalf of the family, for you to leave a message and share some memories and stories about Bethy for the family to be able to listen to and take comfort in when they need it. So there's a guestbook phone out in the lobby. And with that, I want to introduce a slideshow to bookend us here, which is made by Elizabeth Dean. Thank you. Elizabeth also took care of the programs here tonight, so thank you for all of that. I appreciate that. And so we're going to run the slideshow, and then I'll be back to wrap us up. So give us a moment.